Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1574. The topic is nutrition and the title is Nutrition and Training Advice for Increased Testosterone and Libido. So, we have in our board this year, new for 2023, the board in the gym, we prompted members to write in any questions they had, and they would write them on like a note card, post them on the board, and then I'd make a podcast and then post the number of the podcast under there, post it. So basically, it's just a nice way to get people to present questions, and then other members of the gym can kind of see on the board questions that people have asked, what the podcast numbers would be, and it was just a good way for everybody to kind of just get some extra education. So somebody asked about nutrition and training advice for increased libido, and that's going to be connected with testosterone levels, so I figured we'd just kind of throw that in there. You can think through like what impacts testosterone and libido is just basically genetics and lifestyle factors. So the genetic components we can't do anything about. I mean, we could definitely take supplements, to kind of override the genetics. That's why there's testosterone therapy and, other kind of things like fertility therapy and whatnot. So you can override genetics now with the drugs that we have available to us. So that's one way that we can manipulate genetics. But if we think about like what are the other things we can do, that's going to be more so lifestyle. So that's things like sleep, managing stress, our body fat levels, stuff that we can manipulate or have some control over with what we do every day. That's going to be lifestyle. One of the things I would suggest is to get your testosterone and thyroid checked. So get some blood work done and just see if it's in the normal range. And if it's in the normal range, there's actually still like an optimal range that's kind of best. And you want to make sure you're in there. So if you get tested and things are a little low, try managing the lifestyle factors that I'm going to mention in the rest of the podcast first and get retested in about 3 to 6 months, somewhere in there. If it's still low, try again. So, because we probably, do kind of like a half-ass effort towards managing these things. When we get the blood test and we go, crap, it really isn't better, then really dive in and do the other ass of your job. So rather than half-assing it, do the rest of the ass. But try to actually give it a really good go. And then when you get tested again in 3 to 6 months, if it's still low, then you can definitely consider about getting like medication to help. So there's different thyroid medications, there's different hormonal therapies and things like that. So you can definitely talk to a doctor, get a referral to a hormone clinic or people that specialize in it. I would not personally take advice from a regular doctor about that. There are people who specialize in it, so I'd want to go talk to them because they're just going to know more. They're going to have greater, experience with it, so I would get the referral to a specialist. So, other than that, if we look at lifestyle factors, what are some factors that contribute to lowered libido and lowered testosterone? One of the main ones is stress, overwhelmingly stress. If you're hyper stressed and, got a new job or you lost your job, or there's just chaos going around in your life, things are changing. Maybe you're moving from one house to another house or one town to another town. There's something going on. What you'll notice is that the idea of sex probably isn't on the top of the list, and you're going to be kind of tired, just kind of not have the energy for it. You're going to notice a decrease in libido, you won't notice a decrease in testosterone, but you'll just kind of feel more tired, maybe achy joints, just not recovering as well between workouts, just kind of feeling not excited about anything in life, just kind of blah. I had a client one time. They had 2 part-time jobs. They were in school, and they had a child. They were separated, and they were sharing custody, and that relationship wasn't going well with a significant other. And their testosterone was under 300. And I think this was a male in his like early 20s, late 30s. So testosterone of under 300 is absolutely horrible. So we were working together. He said he didn't really, want to get the blood work done because he didn't have enough money, and we were going through a lot of stuff. So I was like, well, let's crush what we can crush. So he started trying to lift weights, and I'll talk about training here in a second. Kind of getting his nutrition in better order, focused on sleep as much as we could, but his sleep was crap. But what also helped was he got a full-time job. So he was able to do the full-time job instead of the 2 part-time jobs, much less stress. And he was able to, he had finished finals. So he was about a month out of finishing classes, so a month into just kind of summer break. And it was 2 or 3 months after he got the new job. He retested his testosterone, and it was 650. I think it was like 656 or 650 something. But that was huge. He got over a double increase in testosterone by simply reducing stress. Now, we did add in a little bit of extra sleep. We added in weight training. We controlled our calories, made sure we had enough protein. So there were some other factors that contributed, but he reported to me that he felt like the overwhelming benefit was the new job and having a break from school. And it showed in the blood work. So that was really, really, really cool. So stress is something that's extremely impactful for natural hormone levels and libido. If you want to learn a little bit about stress, I'm going to give you kind of a podcast with almost every subject here. But if you want to learn about stress management, we have podcast 1023. You can find all of our podcasts on our website at www.brutalirongym.com. But podcast 1023 is a mindset podcast titled Stress Management, Options and Priorities. And that'll help you just kind of better manage your mental stress by managing your projects and people and in your life, and just feeling like you have more control over what's going on and what's happening. The next thing that is a lifestyle factor that has significant impact on libido and testosterone kind of hormone health is sleep. Absolutely. Freaking sleep. When we have poor quality of sleep, we have poor natural growth hormone production, and growth hormone impacts everything in our body, everything. So that's a huge hit when natural growth hormone is not running well. And then testosterone production is incredibly low when sleep quality is low. So it really has a significant impact on those two, especially hormones that would contribute towards overall hormone health and libido. So sleep is something that we absolutely want to check. Now, out of everything else I'm going to say for the rest of this podcast, the 2 that I just said are the most impactful: stress and sleep. If you get your stress down some, you get your sleep quality up some, you're going to feel a huge difference. Huge. So definitely focus on those first, get those sorted out, and then you can focus on the rest of it. But also, by getting those 2 sorted out, you then have the capacity to focus on anything else. So absolutely work on stress management, absolutely work on improving sleep quality. So we have podcast 1149 is a mindset podcast titled Creating a Healthier Sleep Pattern. So that would be a great one to listen to, so that way you can create a healthier sleep pattern. So the naming, I think, of these podcasts is pretty good. pretty accurate to what we're talking about. So those are going to be the 2 areas. Absolutely focus on those first. So podcast 1023, Stress Management, Options and Priorities. Podcast 1149, Creating a Healthier Sleep Pattern. Okay, so what other lifestyle factors influence testosterone and libido? Body fat. The higher body fat level you have, it is associated with higher levels of estrogen, which is counter-associated with testosterone and libido. So you want to manage body fat. Now, body fat levels are commonly a result of mismanaging nutrition and training, or nutrition and general activity. So it's better to focus on nutrition and physical activity because that's the way to impact body fat. So body fat is associated, higher body fats are associated with worse hormonal health and lowered libido. But if you have high body fat and you're like, oh crap, maybe that's something I want to look at, the way you look at that is through nutritional habits and exercise. So nutritional habits, whether you have high body fat or not, they will impact hormonal health. Now, what do you manage? How do you manage that? Podcast 1232 is a nutrition podcast titled Start Here. I literally tell you step by step what you should check and what numbers you should do and how to modify the numbers. It literally just tells you everything. So that's a good podcast to look at. First thing is just get your calories somewhat under control, somewhat normalized and consistent from day to day. Make sure you have enough protein in your diet. That has a huge impact on hormonal health. Then you focus on distribution because it impacts the quality of your life and a lot of aspects of nutrition. Then if you look at food choices, we want to have food choices that lower sugar intake, and you want to incorporate healthy fats. So there's like omega-3s and omega-6s, there's fish oils, there's all this stuff. You want to make sure that you have a proper balance of fats in your diet. Saturated fats should be about 1/3 of your total fat intake. That actually should not be completely eliminated. There's plenty of studies that show saturated fats are important for hormonal health. We just don't want to have too many of them, and we would rather have them not come from, fried foods. So we want them to come from healthier, more quote-unquote natural forms of food. So food choices are important, and you can listen to podcast 1232 for more information about specific food choices. Then we have supplements. What can we do? Supplements. People love supplements because you just pop a pill in your face and you don't change anything else. But what you can add to the things you should be changing is vitamin D3. It's connected with hormonal health and overall mood, and it's crazy cheap and very effective. I think the last study I looked at was like 80% of Americans are low in vitamin D. So it's something that everybody should pretty much be paying attention to. Vitamin D3, like I said, is super cheap. You can definitely get that and add to your, daily habits. You can also take a multivitamin. So certain levels of vitamins and minerals, if they're low, are related to poor hormonal health and lowered libido. So they did a study. I read a study sometime, I forget when it was like a couple months ago, that low levels of zinc in women will cause like a lowered libido. So if a woman is low in zinc, that is something that they can do to help increase their libido. So there's a lot of hormonal impact from vitamins and minerals, so that's a good thing to have. So you want to have a multivitamin every day, vitamin D3, both of those are super cheap. You can also take a supplement called Tribulus, which is helpful for increasing libido. It's really effective. It's very effective, but it can cause blood pressure issues. So you have to be careful with that. If you get a Tribulus supplement, I would suggest starting with half the dose and, increase from there if you need to. But those are 3 supplements that are impactful, absolutely, and they're things that you can add to trying to eat healthier, trying to sleep better, and trying to reduce your stress. So you still have to do the other things. So supplements are supplemental to the other things you should be doing. The other one we'll kind of mention under the nutrition here is alcohol. Alcohol has an enormous negative impact on natural testosterone levels. Horrible impact. So it can reduce testosterone levels significantly depending on the amount you have. I mean, even up to like 24 hours. So if you work out and then you go home and you drink alcohol, you're going to get such an enormously reduced adaptation from that training because your testosterone levels will be so low. So alcohol it's absolutely horrible for testosterone and libido. You should try to avoid that as much as you possibly can if you're concerned at all about testosterone and libido and or concerned with trying to be lean and build significant muscle tissue or have like a nice lean physique. So alcohol's bad. Absolutely try to address that. If you cope with stress through alcohol, for many reasons, that should be something that you should work on to try to manage that because it just does have such a negative impact on a lot of other components as well of life and health. Okay, now, so that's what we look through for nutrition or lifestyle factors is reducing stress, trying to improve the quality of sleep. We want to reduce our body fat, of course. We do that through nutritional habits and then better supplements and then trying to reduce and or avoid alcohol. Now, when we look at training, it's actually relatively simple. Weight training, resistance training, has been shown to have an impact on natural growth hormone and testosterone production. If somebody lifts weights, they will have improved testosterone, growth hormone, and libido. And they found a correlation with the intensity of the weight training to the impact on the libido, growth hormone, and testosterone. So the more intense the training is, especially with resistance training, your body has a significantly greater reaction with increased growth hormone and testosterone. So you want to, if you're worried about testosterone levels and or libido, you want to lift weights. You want to lift weights. You want to move some heavy things around. You want to do it safely, of course, but it absolutely does help. They have not seen as significant impact from resistance training. So cardio alone does not have as much of an impact. You actually want to lift weights. Now, people would say, like, how much should I do? More than whatever you're doing now. So if you're only training 0 times a week, try to do once. If you're only doing once, try to do twice. If you're only doing it 2 times and you're like, man, I don't have room in my schedule for a third workout, that's okay. Find 5 to 10 minutes and just get a light set of dumbbells at home and do some lateral raises, do some back rows, do some squats or thrusters, or just learn how to move yourself around. And the more you do it, the better. Now, if you're weight training 6-7 days a week, you got to control that. Make sure you have the proper intensities. But if you want to know training impact in regards to the impact on growth hormone and testosterone and libido, resistance training is more impactful than cardiovascular training alone. And the intensity of the resistance training is directly related to the impact it has. Okay? So lift weights intensely, kick your own butt, and that'll help a lot. Now, if you're looking for training information, we do have our live monthly programming service. It's only $50 a month. You get a brand new program every 4 weeks. You get education every single week. We have a virtual Q&A. We have a written document. You can write in any questions. I'll answer them every single week. We have a ton of education shared with that. And all exercises in the programs have video tutorials with them. So it's super awesome. If you want to learn more about that service, you can check it out on our website at www.brutalirongym.com. And then we also have our one-on-one online coaching where I help you with nutrition and training. Everything's personalized to you 100%. You can learn about that on our website as well. So those are kind of the suggestions of what to look for if you want some nutrition and training advice for how to increase testosterone and libido. Awesome. So thank you to the gym member who wrote that on the board. That's awesome. I appreciate it. So I will write that this podcast, number 1574, is the one you want to listen to. And hopefully you can listen to that and the other members can listen to that as well. So if anybody listening to this has any questions, you can shoot me an email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. You can drive to South Carolina and put a note on our board if you want, but just reach out. That's the whole point of what the podcast is for, is just to help everybody live a healthier and happier life. So if you have any questions, feedback, suggestions, anything that you want to know, let me know at my email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you like our podcast, please share the podcast. When you share the podcast, let people know that we answer the questions for free, so that way they know that that's part of this service. And then thank you to those who donate to support the podcast. We can have this available to help people. You can donate on our website at www.brutalirongym.com. There's options for a one-time donation, monthly donation, yearly donation, even just $5 a month. It does add up. It does help. So thank you very much to the people who are doing that now. And then if you like the information we share in our podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. I post on Instagram every day, YouTube a lot more than I used to. So find us and follow us under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.